There is something controlling your life right now. Not your job, not your circumstances, not your past. Something far more subtle, far more powerful, and far more dangerous because most people never even realize it exists. It's invisible, silent, always present, and it is shaping everything. The way you think, the way you feel, the way you react. The decisions you make, and the ones you avoid. It is the force behind your habits, the engine behind your actions, the blueprint behind your results. And whether you like it or not, it is in control. Right now. This very moment. It is determining how much money you earn. How far you go, what you believe is possible, what you believe is impossible, and most importantly, it is determining the life you keep recreating over and over again. Different days, different situations, but the same patterns. The same limitations, the same outcomes. And you might think it's coincidence. You might think it's bad luck. Might think it's the environment, the economy, other people. But the truth is far deeper than that. The truth is, you are not living in a random reality. You are living in a controlled one. And the control is not external. It is internal. Napoleon Hill called it the subconscious mind. Earl Nightingale referred to it as the mental conditioning that governs our results. Bob Proctor made it crystal clear. Your paradigm controls your life. A paradigm is not just a belief. It is a collection of habits, thoughts, emotional patterns, and unconscious behaviors that operate automatically. It is the mental program running in the background of your life. You don't consciously choose it. You don't actively control it, but it controls you. And that is what makes it so powerful. Because it operates below your awareness. Like an invisible script. A script that tells you how to think. How to act. How much you can earn. How much you deserve. And until you become aware of it, you will continue to follow it. Blindly. Automatically. Predictably. This is why people stay stuck. Not because they lack desire, not because they lack intelligence, but because they are trying to change their life without changing the program that is creating it. They try harder, work longer, push more. Nothing truly changes because effort does not override programming. You cannot outwork paradigm. You cannot force your way into a new life while operating with an old identity. It doesn't work. It never has. And it never will, because your results are not created by what you do. Occasionally. They are created by what you do automatically. And what you do automatically is controlled by your paradigm. That's the invisible power. That's what's been running your life. Not consciously, but consistently. And consistency is what shapes reality. So if your paradigm is built on limitation, you will consistently create limited results. If your paradigm is built on fear, you will consistently avoid growth. If your paradigm is built on doubt, you will consistently sabotage opportunity. And then you will look at your life and say, why does this keep happening? But it's not happening to you. It's happening through you, because your internal programming is producing external outcomes. Over and over again, like a loop. And until you break that loop, nothing changes. No matter how much you want it to. No matter how much you try, because the problem is not outside. The problem is the invisible force inside. And this is where everything shifts, because the moment you become aware of this, you regain power. The moment you realize that your life is not fixed, not permanent, not predetermined, but programmed, you understand something most people never do. if it was programmed. It can be reprogrammed dot, and that realization changes everything dot, because now you are no longer a victim of your circumstances dot. You are the architect of your reality. But here's the part that most people don't want to hear. Taking control is not easy because it requires you to confront yourself dot, to confront your thinking dot, to confront your habits dot, to confront the identity you've been living as, because the paradigm is not something separate from you dot. It is you dot. It is how you've been thinking, how you've been acting, how you've been showing up in the world dot, and changing it means changing yourself, and that is where resistance appears, because your mind will fight to stay the same dot. It will try to pull you back into familiar patterns, back into comfort, back into the known, even if the known is limiting, even if the known is keeping you stuck, because the mind values familiarity over growth, predictability over expansion dot, safety over possibility dot. So when you begin to think differently, when you begin to challenge your patterns, when you begin to step outside of your comfort zone, it feels uncomfortable dot, it feels unnatural dot, it feels wrong. But that feeling is not a sign to stop dot. It is a sign that you're breaking free, because growth always feels uncomfortable at first dot. Expansion always feels unfamiliar. Change always feels difficult. But difficulty is the gateway dot. It is the threshold between who you are and who you can become dot. And if you are willing to walk through it, if you are willing to stay committed, if you are willing to continue even when it feels uncomfortable, you begin to take control dot, not all at once, not instantly, but gradually dot, thought by thought dot, action by action, decision by decision. You start to notice your patterns. You catch yourself thinking small. You catch yourself hesitating, catch yourself defaulting to old habits, and instead of following them, you interrupt them. You choose differently dot, and every time you do that, you weaken the old program dot and strengthen the new one, because repetition is what builds paradigms, and repetition is what changes them dot. So you become intentional. You stop living on autopilot dot. You start living on purpose. You choose your thoughts. You choose your actions. You choose your direction. And that choice is power dot, because now you are no longer reacting to life. You are creating it. But creation requires clarity. You must know what you want, not vaguely, not loosely. Clearly dot, specifically dot, with detail, because a clear vision gives direction to your mind dot. It tells your subconscious where to go dot, what to focus on dot, what to move toward. And without that clarity, you drift, you react, you stay stuck in old patterns. But when you have a clear vision, everything changes. Your thoughts align dot, your actions align, your energy aligns, and alignment creates momentum. But vision alone is not enough. You must believe it, not intellectually, but emotionally. You must feel that it is possible, that it is real, that it is yours, because belief is what activates the subconscious dot. It is what tells your mind, this is who I am becoming. And when that message is repeated over and over again, your paradigm begins to shift dot, slowly dot, subtly dot, but powerfully dot, until one day, what once felt impossible feels normal dot, and what once felt distant feels inevitable. And that is when your reality begins to change, not because of luck, not because of chance dot, but because you took control. You changed the program dot, you shifted the paradigm. You became someone new dot, and from that place, everything else follows dot. So understand this clearly. There is an invisible power controlling your life, but it is not your enemy dot. It is your greatest tool if you learn how to use it, if you take control of it, if you stop letting it run unconsciously and start directing it intentionally. Because when you do, there is no limit to what you can create. No limit to how far you can go. No limit to who you can become. And that power has been within you the entire time, waiting for you to wake up, for you to take control, for you to decide that you are no longer living by default, but by design. Now the question is, what are you going to do with it? Because the moment you truly decide to take control, the moment you stop treating this as just another idea and start living it as a principle, something begins to reorganize inside of you. You stop drifting. You stop reacting. You stop waiting. And you start directing. Directing your thoughts. Directing your focus. Directing your energy towards something that most people never fully develop. A clear, unwavering vision of who you are becoming. And this is where the invisible power begins to shift sides. Because before, it was controlling you. Now, you begin to control it. But understand this. Control does not come from force. It comes from consistency. You cannot overpower your paradigm in a single moment. You must outcondition it. You must replace repetition with new repetition. You must feed your mind with new ideas, new beliefs, new standards, until they become familiar. Until they become automatic. Until they become you. Because your subconscious does not respond to logic. It responds to repetition and emotion. What you repeatedly think and deeply feel becomes your reality. So if you want to take control, you must become aware of what you are feeding your mind daily. Because most people unknowingly reinforce the very paradigm they are trying to escape. They consume content that limits them. They surround themselves with people who think small. They engage in conversations that reinforce doubt, fear, and mediocrity. And then they wonder why nothing changes. But your environment is not neutral. It is programming you. Every word you hear, every image you see, every conversation you engage in is either expanding you or shrinking you. There is no in dash between. So if you are serious about taking control of your reality, you must take control of your environment. Not necessarily by changing everything overnight, but by becoming selective. Intentional. Aware. You choose what you listen to. You choose what you watch. You choose who you give access to your mind, because your mind is the most valuable asset you have, and what you allow into it determines everything. So you begin to feed it differently. You expose yourself to ideas that challenge you, that stretch you, that force you to think beyond your current limits. Study people who have achieved what you want, not to compare yourself, but to expand your perspective. Because when you see what is possible for others, you begin to realize what is possible for you. And that realization starts to break the illusion of limitation. Because limitation is often not real. It is perceived. It is conditioned. It is reinforced through repetition. But when you interrupt that repetition, you create space for something new. And in that space, a new identity begins to form. An identity that thinks bigger. Acts bolder, decides faster. An identity that does not wait for permission, does not seek validation. Does not hesitate when opportunity appears. And that identity is what produces new results. Not effort alone, not intention alone. Identity. Because once you become someone who operates at a higher level, you don't need to force success. You attract it. Not in a mystical sense, but in a practical, inevitable way. Because your thinking changes, your behavior changes, your standards change, and those changes alter everything. But there is something else you must understand. something critical. Because as you begin to take control, as you begin to shift your paradigm, life will test you, not to stop you, but to reveal whether your change is real or temporary, because it's easy to think differently. When everything feels aligned, when motivation is high, when energy is strong. But the real test comes when things don't go as planned, when progress feels slow, when obstacles appear, when doubt tries to return, and in those moments, you are faced with a choice. Go back to the old way of thinking, or stay aligned with the new one. And that choice determines everything, because if you go back, you reinforce the old paradigm, you strengthen it. You make it harder to break next time. But if you stay, if you hold your ground, if you continue thinking and acting in alignment with your new identity, even when it's difficult, you accelerate the change. You solidify the new program. You prove to yourself that you are no longer who you used to be. And that proof is powerful, because belief is built through evidence, not words, not affirmations alone, but action. Consistent, repeated action, so you act, even when you don't feel like it, even when it's uncomfortable, even when results are not immediate, because you understand something most people don't. Results are delayed. The work you do today may not show up tomorrow, or next week, or even next month, but it is building, under the surface, quietly, consistently, till one day it shows, and when it shows, it looks sudden, it looks like overnight success. But you know the truth. You know it was built through discipline, through persistence, through refusing to go back. And that understanding keeps you moving, because now you trust the process. You trust that what you are doing is working, even when you can't see it yet. And that trust eliminates the need for constant validation. You no longer need immediate proof, no longer need external confirmation, because your internal certainty is enough, and that is where real power exists, not in what others say, not in what others think, but in what you know, deeply, unshakably. And when you reach that level, you become unstoppable, not because you never face challenges, but because challenges no longer define you. They refine you, they sharpen you, they elevate you, and you begin to see them differently, not as problems, but as opportunities to grow, to expand, to become stronger, because now you understand the game. You understand that your reality is not fixed, it is flexible, it is moldable, it is responsive to your internal state. And that means you are in control, not partially, not sometimes, but always. The question is, are you using that control, or are you giving it away? Because every time you react unconsciously, you give it away. Every time you fall back into old thinking, you give it away. Every time you choose comfort over growth, you give it away. But every time you think intentionally, act deliberately, choose growth over comfort, you take it back, and the more you take it back, the more control you gain, until eventually there is no more conflict, no more resistance, no more pull toward the old. There is only alignment, clarity, direction, and from that place, your life begins to expand rapidly, because now there is nothing holding you back, no internal barrier, no invisible limitation, no unconscious program running the show, only you, your mind, your choices, direction, and when you operate from that level, there is no ceiling, no limit, no restriction on what you can create, because you are no longer living under the control of an invisible force. You are directing it. And that is where true power begins, because once you reach that point, once you begin to truly direct the invisible power instead of being directed by it, something extraordinary happens. You stop negotiating with yourself. No more internal debates. No more. I'll start tomorrow. No more, maybe later. There is only decision, followed by action. And that level of clarity, that level of self-command, changes everything, because most people don't fail due to lack of ability. They fail because of internal conflict. One part of them wants to grow. Another part wants to stay comfortable. One part wants more. Another part fears what more requires. And this internal contradiction destroys momentum. It weakens discipline. It delays progress. But when you take control of your paradigm, that conflict begins to dissolve, because now you are no longer divided. You are aligned. Your thoughts support your vision. Your emotions support your actions. Your actions support your goals. And when everything moves in the same direction, you become powerful. Not in theory. In reality. Because aligned energy creates speed. And speed creates results. But here's something even deeper. When you become aligned, you stop chasing. You stop forcing. You stop struggling. And you start attracting. Not through wishful thinking, but through congruence. Because when you think like someone who is growing, act like someone who is disciplined, and move like someone who is focused, your external world begins to reflect that. Opportunities appear, connections happen, ideas flow, and it doesn't feel random. It feels natural, because you are no longer out of sync with what you want. You are in harmony with it, and harmony is where creation becomes effortless. But don't misunderstand this. Effortless does not mean easy. It means aligned. It means that instead of pushing against resistance, you are moving with direction. And direction is everything. Because without direction, even the strongest effort leads nowhere. But with direction, even small actions create massive results over time. So you stay focused. You stay intentional. You stay committed to your vision. Even when distractions appear, and distractions will appear, because the moment you start to grow, the world will test your focus. It will present alternatives. Shortcuts. Comfort. Easy. Paths that lead nowhere. And if you are not grounded, if your identity is not strong, you'll be pulled back into old habits, back into old thinking, back into the same life you said you wanted to leave. But now, you are different. Now, you see it. Now, you recognize the trap, and you choose differently, because choice, repeated consistently, becomes identity. And identity defines destiny. So every time you choose discipline, you reinforce your new identity. Every time you choose growth, you strengthen your new paradigm. Every time you choose action, you move closer to the life you are creating. And over time, those choices compound. They build. They stack. Until one day, you look around, and your life is no longer recognizable. Not because of one big moment, but because of thousands of small decisions made consistently. And that is the truth most people never accept. There is no breakthrough moment that changes everything overnight. There's only consistent action that changes everything gradually, until the change becomes undeniable. And when that moment arrives, when you finally see the results, when you experience the shift, when your external world catches up with your internal growth, you realize something powerful. It was never about luck. It was never about timing. It was never about waiting for the right moment. It was about control. Control of your mind. Control of your actions. Control of your direction. And the moment you took that control, everything changed. So now, you stand in a different place, not just physically, but mentally. Emotionally. Spiritually. You think differently. You see differently. you operate at a higher level. And from this level, there is no going back, because you have seen what is possible. You have experienced what it means to take control. And once you experience that, you cannot return to unconscious living. You cannot go back to reacting. To drifting. To repeating. Because now you are aware. And awareness creates responsibility. The responsibility to continue growing. To continue evolving. To continue expanding. Because the journey does not end here. There is always another level. Another version of you waiting to be developed. Stronger. Sharper. More disciplined. More focused. More aligned. And that pursuit is what makes life powerful. Because you are no longer just existing. You are creating. Intentionally. Deliberately. With purpose. And that purpose drives everything. It fuels your actions. It strengthens your discipline. It gives meaning to your effort. Because now you are not just working toward results. You are working toward expression. Expression of your potential. Expression of your vision. Expression of who you truly are. Beneath all the conditioning. Beneath all the limitations. Beneath all the old patterns. And that expression is what transforms your life. So don't stop. Don't slow down. Don't settle. Because settling is the fastest way to lose control again. The moment you become comfortable. The moment you lower your standards. The moment you stop pushing forward. Old patterns will try to return. And if you are not aware, they will. So you stay sharp. You stay focused. You stay committed to the process. Because the process is what keeps you aligned. And alignment is what keeps you in control. And control is what gives you freedom. Not freedom from effort. Not freedom from challenges. Freedom from limitation. Freedom from unconscious living. Freedom from being controlled by an invisible force you don't understand. Because now you understand it. You've taken control of it. You've made it work for you instead of against you. And that is the ultimate shift. So now there is only one thing left to do. Continue. Continue directing your thoughts. Continue choosing your actions. Continue strengthening your identity. Because everything you want is on the other side of who you are becoming. And that person is already emerging right now. With every decision, with every action, every moment you choose growth over comfort. So step into it. Fully. Hesitation. Without doubt. Without looking back. Because the life you want is no longer a possibility. It is a direction. And you are already moving toward it. Now keep going and understand this. There is no final destination. No point where you arrive and suddenly everything stops. No moment where growth ends and certainty becomes permanent. Because the same invisible power that once limited you will always be present. The difference now is that you are no longer unconscious of it. You are aware. And awareness demands maintenance. It demands attention. It demands that you continue choosing who you are becoming every single day. Because the moment you stop choosing, the moment you fall back into autopilot, the old patterns will try to return. Not because you failed, but because they were practiced for years. They are familiar. They are comfortable. And comfort always calls you back. But now, you are not the same person who answers that call. Now you recognize it. Now you see it for what it is. A test. A moment where you either reinforce your new identity or revive your old one. And that moment will come again and again and again. Because growth is not a one-time decision. It is a continuous one. A daily one. A moment-to-moment choice to stay aligned or drift back. And the people who truly transform are not the ones who never feel resistance. They are the ones who choose alignment. Despite it dot, who continue forward. Despite the pull backward, who stay disciplined. Despite the desire for ease, and that persistence, that quiet, relentless commitment, is what separates those who change temporarily from those who change permanently, because temporary change feels intense, but fades dot permanent change feels subtle, but lasts dot in what you are building. Is not temporary dot, it is foundational dot, it is identity dot, an identity. Once solidified, becomes your default dot, it becomes how you think. Without effort dot, how you act. Without hesitation dot, how you show up. Without question dot, and when you reach that level, everything becomes simpler, not easier, but clearer, because you no longer waste energy on internal conflict. You no longer debate your actions. You no longer negotiate with your growth. Move, you act, you execute, and that execution creates momentum dot, and momentum builds a life that once felt out of reach. But here is something you must never forget. The invisible power you now control. As not judge dot, it does not decide what is. Good or bad dot, it simply responds dot, it amplifies whatever you consistently feed it dot. So if you feed it doubt, it will expand doubt. If you feed it fear, it will expand fear. If you feed it limitation, it will reinforce limitation. But if you feed it vision, it will expand possibility. If you feed it belief, it will strengthen certainty dot. If you feed it disciplined action, it will create results dot. It is neutral, but it is powerful dot, and now it is in your hands dot. So the responsibility is clear. You must guard your mind, protect your focus dot, direct your energy dot, because what you allow in becomes what you experience, and what you repeat becomes who you are dot. So you choose wisely. You choose growth. Choose expansion dot. You choose to operate at a level that reflects your true potential, not your past conditioning, because your past does not define you anymore. Your previous results do not limit you anymore. Your old identity does not control you anymore. You broke that. You stepped out of it. You took control. And now you move forward with intention dot, with clarity dot, with purpose, because purpose is what sustains everything dot. It is what keeps you moving when motivation fades dot. It is what keeps you focused when distractions appear dot. It is what keeps you grounded when challenges arise dot, and challenges will arise, because every level demands a new version of you, a stronger version, a more disciplined version, a more focused version dot. And instead of resisting that, you embrace it dot, because now you understand. The challenge is not the obstacle. The challenge is the path dot. It is the mechanism that forces your expansion dot. It is what shapes you into someone capable of sustaining more. And sustaining more is what this is really about. Not just achieving, not just reaching, but becoming someone who can maintain, who can grow, who can continue evolving without collapsing back into old patterns. And that is true power dot. So from this point forward, you live differently. You think with intention. You act with purpose. You respond with awareness, because you know that every moment matters. Every thought matters dot. Every decision matters, not because they are isolated, but because they compound dot. They build, they shape, they define, and over time, they create a life that reflects everything you have chosen to become dot. So don't underestimate the small moments. Don't overlook the daily decisions, because those are the moments where your future is built dot, quietly dot, consistently dot, powerfully dot. And one day, without warning, you will look around and everything will be different. Your results dot, your mindset. Your opportunities dot, your reality. And it won't feel like luck dot. It won't feel like chance dot. It will feel like alignment dot because you will know. You created it dot not in a single moment, but through continuous choice, through deliberate thinking, through disciplined action, through refusing to go back dot, and in that moment, everything becomes clear. The invisible power was never your enemy dot. It was your greatest advantage. You just had to learn how to use it dot. And now, you are using it dot. So keep going. Keep directing dot. Keep choosing. Because this is no longer about changing your life. This is about owning it dot fully, dot completely dot. Hesitation dot without doubt. Because you are no longer someone who is controlled by reality. You are someone who shapes it. And that changes everything dot. So step forward dot with certainty, dot with strength, with clarity, because there is no force left holding you back. Only a power waiting to be directed dot. And now it is yours.